I'm a 19-year-old girl. This is something that was super traumatic for me, but it was never discussed again in my household, though I would share my thoughts with you all. When I was 13, my mom bought me a desktop for schoolwork. Having my own computer was fairly new for me back in that day. I was shy but online. I could be anyone, I could say anything. One night I logged on, there was a sound of a message notification and a private message was incoming. Hey, my name is John. Where are you from? And that's how it started. I told him where I was from, that I was in high school, which wasn't a lie. My school was from 7-12 grade. And you? I asked. 19 years old, in Virginia, he said. It was cool to be talking to an older guy. And the boy was cute. He was sweet and mild-mannered. I do remember messages back and forth, the occasional phone call. Then let's meet. Had never really asked for much from me. Just the messages back and forth, a phone call a day. But he made me feel safe, made me feel wanted, cared for him. He drove from Virginia to Colorado one day. He parked about a quarter mile away. When he showed up, we were given a hug and kiss for each other. He took me to go somewhere and bought me some gifts. I had no idea where he was staying. I lived extremely far in the country, an hour's drive from the closest hotel. The next day I got ready for school, and as soon as I hop off in the school parking lot, I get directly into his car. No one noticed, no one said anything. We drive around. I get dropped back off at school. Super said that he was going back home, with promises he will call me. I can't remember many emotions from this time. I do remember that a few days later my mom said she found out that I skipped school with a man, and that was that. I do remember sending a message, a late-night phone call saying, I wish I could just live with you. I remember he suggested he come get me. I remember saying okay. Days later, by the time he made the drive again, I was feeling iffy about lying to my mom. I loved her after all. I didn't think it through. I didn't put much thought into anything really, like I was enchanted. I wish I could turn back time. I would never act foolish. Packed a few clothes in a suitcase, lying to my mom that I'll sleep over at my best friend's house for 2 days. I left my house at about 9 p.m. and got in his car without hesitation. We drove on the quiet night. He didn't even say anything to me. It wasn't like he used to be. I felt a little bit awkward, but I still kept silent too. The drive took forever and we stopped to nap at a rest stop. I was sitting in the back seat alone, waking up from a nap around p.m. I felt quite thirsty, but there was nothing to drink. So I drank out of the truck stop sink and pretended to find my phone, but I didn't see it around. The feeling of not being safe was surrounding me and a little scary. I made sure that I carried my phone as soon as I left my house. I asked him if he could see my phone or not, but he hadn't no idea about it. He said he had to run to get some things and told me to wait for him and not to get out of his car. So I obediently listened to him and stayed still. 30 minutes, 1 hour, and he didn't appear. At that moment, I was truly scared. Suddenly, the men and women in black suits surrounded the car, screaming out loud for me to get out with our hands up. My first thought was, first 10 minutes in Virginia and I'm already being robbed. I am terrified, crying all the tears. My body trembled strongly. I couldn't say a word. I remember them wrapping their arms around my body and carrying me. The man only said one thing, "You scream, you die." I realized that voice, that was exactly John's voice. I couldn't believe that the man who I fell in love with was a kidnapper. You can't even imagine how scared and desperate I was. Then, I was hit in the head. Everything started to get a little blurry, and I don't remember what happened after that. When I woke up, I was in a big room. I had never ever seen one before, wet and dirty. The outside were trees and was frighteningly dark. There were about more than 10 girls in here, at the age of 15-20, and they all looked frightened and exhausted. When I was deeply shocked, a woman came in. She got angry and slapped me. It hurt like hell. I cried badly and was injured. And John appeared. He looked arrogant with piercing eyes, totally different from what he showed me before. I begged him to let me out, but he didn't care. He smirked at me. John was the guy behind this. He's definitely evil. By talking with others, girl, I know that the terrible truth that they tricked the girls by chatting online and earned money by organ trafficking, or even worse, that the girls were forced to become commercial sex workers. I couldn't believe those words. In my mind, it was full of the worst scenes. I imagined that the police found my body, beaten and attacked, or maybe they would take me to a strange place, and I would never meet my mom. During the days living in hell, sometimes I just want to free myself. They just gave us little things to eat and drink to survive. If someone dared to raise their voice or do something that resisted them, they would be beaten out and starved to death. It was truly a hell on earth. I cried so many nights, missing my mom so badly, regretted for trusting people too easily. Only a few days in here, I thought I might die of exhaustion. I was tortured physically and mentally. One night, I had a dream about my mom. She appeared with a peaceful look, caressing me as she had done so often, very tenderly, very sweet, and said, "You must survive at any cost," and then she started to fade away and disappear. I woke up in the quiet of the night and cried a lot. I really missed my mom. I still want to enjoy my life. I still want to live with my mom forever, so I told myself to calm down and started thinking about how to escape from that place. And I hold that thought until morning. Like other days, a woman came into my room and distributed food. I found out that she always carried a key by her side, as if something kept stirring me to get it, or if not, I wouldn't ever be able to get out of this place. Desire to live gave me more confidence and stronger than ever. I planned to steal them from her that night. That night, at about p.m., when we had just finished dinner and were about to go to sleep, the woman walked into the room to check like other days. Pushing the panic down, I tried to fake falling into her and completely grabbed her key. Luckily, she didn't realize. I cheered within. The first step in my plan had succeeded. I tiptoed to the door, trying not to get attention, unlocked with the key in my hand. There was no one in the hallway, but I could hear chatter of the keepers outside. Now, I felt afraid of being found out, but reassured myself that I could escape from here. I went to the main door. Luckily it was unlocked. I rushed out toward the fence. The minute I put my feet outside that house, I felt back to life. But suddenly the alarm rang, and a man saw me and he shouted out loud. I ran toward the woods while the two men were chasing me. The moment of danger was close. I quickly hid in the shrub. I could hear the voice of the men hunting me, so I hardly dared breathe. Finally, they left after 30 minutes of hunting. For the first time in my life, I was face to face with extreme horror. I thought I was almost dead. That was 30 minutes of living in the scariest moment of my life. With all my left braveness, I ran my ass off, feeling like I was going to die. In the silent dark night, I couldn't hear any sound except my breath. My heart was pounding, putting as much physical distance as I could between my body and that house. I ran with the feet bleeding, tears stinging my eyes, adrenaline shooting through me. God blessed me. It was a nice married couple. They called the police station and took me to the hospital. They stayed with me as I fainted out of exhaustion. When I woke up in the hospital, I was overcome with a sense of terror so debilitating that I felt myself gasping for air. I called my mom and we were both crying on the phone. I was fortunate to still be alive. 2 police took me home and I was questioned for an hour. The day after, John and his gang were captured. They were sentenced totaling 30 years in prison and were fined $1 million for illegal human organ trafficking and commercial sex. The other girls were rescued. I didn't go to that court in order not to hear any things. I did fall into a horrible depression and had to go for psychological treatment for a long time. I transferred school, made best friends and graduated, and now I'm getting better. But sometimes, I still have to shiver in fear whenever someone mentions kidnapping or similar things. To the parents, if you have kids, check what they are doing online. You may trust them, but don't trust the creeps that linger. They are out there. While your kid might be smart and you know they would never do anything crazy, it never ever hurts to check.